Whoa, where the hell did this game come from? Sega Genesis? No, Slipstream is from just a few months ago, and they freaking nailed the aesthetic. I don't know if there's some special 90s color palette that they downloaded or what, but Slipstream looks pretty cool. I might also have a serious problem where I just love everything that is bathed in neon with synthwave. Since it's a driving game, let's start there. Slipstream is an arcade racer in the sense that it doesn't require knowing how to drive a car at all. In fact, the complete opposite, since drifting isn't typically used while driving. If you don't drift in this game, you're gonna have a bad time. I started the game up and my first race, before playing the tutorial, went pretty bad, like hilariously bad, as you can see on the screen right now. The car doesn't turn. If I just played the tutorial, I would have known that you must drift around turns. You have to tap the brakes when going into a turn and switch back to the gas. The faster you do it, the less speed you lose. It makes corners more about pressing the correct button sequence before going into them. If you don't, you'll probably hit the side and lose a lot of speed. On a lot of the turns, your reflexes are tested as you switch from one drift to another. Don't forget about the other cars you need to dodge while doing all of this. It feels great, but doesn't take a ton of skill to learn. I enjoy how tight the controls are, and once you get the hang of it, you'll start entering turns earlier to have more control during them. It feels great drifting around an entire track, not losing any speed at all. There are also different degrees of drifting, so you do have some leeway. Another key mechanic is Slipstream, for which the game is named after, where if you ride behind a car, you'll catch a speed boost. It doesn't activate right away, and you need to fill up the letters to the word before you'll get the boost. But as long as you're behind the car, you can keep getting the boost, so it's extremely useful for catching up or getting up to top speed. I really like trying to sit behind a car long enough to catch the slipstream. Of course, I push myself to stay behind them as long as possible, and that can lead to some crashes. However, the whole mechanic does rely on having cars in front of you, which can be difficult. If you're in a race and have the lead, then the game loses a mechanic. Also, if you're going too fast and blow right by a car, then there's no way you're catching the slipstream. You'll often pass cars and they're more of an obstacle than useful. It's unfortunate that the main mechanic of the game is so reliant on outside forces. I get very little slipstream during races, and for such a fun mechanic, that sucks. Slipstream does have different modes. There is, of course, your fairly standard Quick Race and Grand Prix. As you would expect, Quick Race is a single race, and Grand Prix is a race against 20 cars for 5 laps in 5 races per cup. It's practically in every racing game. However, in Slipstream, you start off with a base car and use cash to upgrade it. The more you win, the more cash you get. I can't figure out if upgrading really does anything though. It's an interesting idea, but I don't feel like I'm going any faster, even though the top speed changes. Also, it's not really any easier to pass people. The Grand Prix mode is by far my biggest problem with the game. There's some terrible rubber banding going on. What I mean is that even if you get an incredible slipstream at the start, and I'm talking crazy good 15 seconds of slipstream, you're going to get passed by other cars. They just drive right by you. You're almost guaranteed to drop to 15th place at the start of a race. Then by the 4th lap, you'll have caught all the way back up and you're probably in 1st or 2nd. I realize this is a technique to give some challenge to the race, and it's something I complained about in Horizon Chase Turbo. But it's worse in Slipstream. I've made way too many mistakes in a race to catch all the way back up. I'm talking multiple crashes, slamming in the back of other cars, like really bad crashes, going way slower than I should be. Like this race is going the worst race of my life kind of bad race. And then I win anyway. Also, 5 laps seems like forever, but that might just be because of the issues I have with the mode. Hopefully they can fix some of this stuff up because it gets boring quick. It doesn't feel like I can lose at all which defeats the purpose of a race. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Slipstream's arcade mode, which is a lot better. You race down different branches of a road while dodging traffic and racing against your rivals. This is the mode that I can't stop playing. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure racetrack, which keeps it interesting. Unfortunately, all the rivals are pretty much the same, so racing against one is like racing against them all. With the traffic, it's much more likely you'll be able to get into a slipstream, which is fun. Also, I can't see any rubber banding going on, so all of my issues with Grand Prix don't exist. It's not without its problems though, as when you move to the next map and you're driving at full speed, you can just easily pass your rival who shows up, even on hard mode. Yet on hard mode, you'll probably get boxed in by traffic, so it's not guaranteed win, it's just very likely. Then at the end, you're given a score and ranked on the leaderboard. That's nice. I like the arcade mode so much because it gets me into the zone, either because I need to dodge so much traffic or because the visuals are so enjoyable. Either way, it's the mode I wish they focused on and made a lot better instead of just having all that other extra stuff I don't really care about. I have to mention the music. It fits exactly to the style of the game, and it's great. I already think driving to this style of music is perfect, and well, what better way to do it than with this art style as well? Overall, Slipstream is pretty cool, and I'm not mad about buying it, especially because it was on sale. I do enjoy the arcade mode, and I think the tracks are really well done. I can see myself picking it up every once in a while and enjoying the visuals. Unfortunately, there's really only about 3 hours of gameplay here, if that. They really need to fix the AI in the Grand Prix too. Still, they wanted to create a game inspired by the early 90s with drifting, and on that I can say the game is a success. It's just too bad everything else isn't as good as those 2 points. Thanks for watching.